In El Paso, early voting has begun, and some of the items voters could decide are raises and benefits for firefighters. Negotiations between the city and its Firefighters Association, as we've told you, stalled. And if they don't come to an agreement right up to Election Day, voters will decide. City Manager Tommy Gonzalez reminded El Pasoans it's going to cost. The question is how much. The city made public its latest proposal to firefighters last week. The fire union referendum would impact the owner of an average home of $124,000 by a total of more than $57 over the next 3 years. The city option would have less than a $5 impact on that same homeowner over the same 3-year period. While the city's latest offer, because remember, they're still trying to negotiate all the way up until Election Day, would have a more than $30 impact on the owner of that average home. For firefighters, the large majority who have insurance through the Buy-Up Family Plan, the city's new offer would mean an increase in their biweekly payment from the current amount of $122 to $290 later this year, growing to $358 in 2016, $447 in 2017, and $547, equal to what police officers pay by 2018. As part of the deal, the city is also offering a wellness plan to firefighters that could earn employees up to $150 a month toward those costs. And joining us now is Dr. Mark Sutter, Chief Financial Officer for the City of El Paso. Hi, Dr. Sutter.
Hello.
Hi. So there's been a lot of coverage on the health insurance plan, but we also want to talk about the pay and the different options from the city and from the firefighters. So give us a synopsis. What is the firefighter union asking for in terms of pay?
So on the compensation package, the union is asking for 3 years of 3% raises each year for a total of 9% over the next 3 years.
And firefighters' pay starts at about $38,000.
Approximately that, yes.
An entry-level firefighter makes about $38,000 a year.
Right. Mm-hmm. And recall that as we spoke the other night, there are automatic step increases in a firefighter's pay. So that entry-level firefighter that comes in at about $37,000 gets a 5% pay increase every year for about 9 years, and those are automatic. So when we're talking about the compensation packages, this is on top of those step increases each year for 9 years.
Okay, so let me try to break this down because it's kind of complicated. There are a lot of numbers. Okay, so for example, entry-level firefighter gets hired. He's paid about $38,000 a year, and then he gets a 5% raise for 9 years, unless he's promoted. If he's promoted, then he gets that starts all over, and he gets a 5% raise for 9 years again, right?
Well, that's correct, mostly. So when you get to the highest level, you get to the highest step. If the firefighter then promotes, say, to fire technician, then he goes to the next level of steps. Now, he may not start at the very bottom. He may be at the second or third step, depending on where his pay is when he promotes. So those steps begin again, though. You are correct. So he gets 5%, 5%, 5% until he hits the limit.
Now, the city is not fighting against these 5% increases. This is
automatic.
No,
it is not.
This is what they get.
That's correct.
Both sides agreed to this.
Right.
The increases that the firefighter union and the city are disputing right now, or they have a disagreement over, is pay raises on top of those annual 5% increases, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so the firefighter union wants 9% spread out over 3 years, 3% each year, and the city wants 2.25% over the same time frame?
That's correct. So the city has proposed in its compensation package 2.25% of what we call cost of living adjustments, which corresponds to the 9% that the firefighters are asking for. In addition, the city also has eliminated the first step in the entry level. In other words, we've increased the entry level by 5%. So new firefighters coming on board would start at a 5% higher rate than what they're starting at right now. And the third component that the city put in there was trying to address those firefighters who have reached the maximum step and they, for whatever reason, they don't wish to promote, adding another step out there at 1.5%. So we tried to address all of the firefighters by having the cost of living adjustments applicable to everybody. And if you're already you're out of the 5% steps, adding one more step out there at 1.5%.
Okay. Now, the other night you were here, you heard the second vice president of the Fire Association saying, what we're asking for is fair. We already get paid about 10% less than police officers. How do you respond to those concerns from the fire union?
Well, you know, I think that it's a fallacy to think that there's some kind of equation between firefighters and police officers. They do different jobs. It's kind of like in the comptroller's area, we hire accountants, but there's someone else who's a clerk in some other department. Well, the clerks and the accountants are two different jobs. They have two different pay scales, and I would suggest that there's a difference between firefighters and law enforcement officers.
Okay, all right. So people are already voting on this. They started voting on this on Monday, but you're still trying to negotiate, or
well,
what is the latest with that?
So the city did put out an option for the firefighters. We could tell that they were still willing to negotiate. They approached the mayor and said, we're still willing to negotiate. So the city scrambled together, met with the leadership of the union, and tried to find out what were they interested in, and could we put together some different package trying to address their concerns. And so we did that. That proposal is before the firefighter union membership at this point, I understand, and they're voting on whether or not to accept the proposal from the city. If they voted affirmatively and decided, yes, we want to accept that offer, then the issue that's on the ballot right now becomes moot. It becomes irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you have until Election Day, right?
Well, so the city really has, you know, two things that we're trying to do right now. One is get the facts out so that the voters understand if the referendum is going to rule the day, that voters going into the voting booth understand the difference between the firefighters' union's proposal and the city's proposal on the referendum. So to vote yes is to vote for the firefighters' proposal, and to vote no is to vote for the city's proposal.
On all three items?
Right, and each of the items are separate. So there's
right.
separate individual votes that the voters will cast.
So again, vote yes, you're supporting the firefighters' union position. If you vote no, you're supporting the city's proposal.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sutter.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
I know you're not a fan of interviews, so I'm glad you came. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.